Welcome back, everybody. We're going to jump right back into building the Darkspawn army that I'm working on, and we need to complete Troop B of the army. And I'm going to go ahead and select the leader of that troop first. And I'm going to go with Rahl, the Duke of Pain. And there's a couple reasons I wanted to take this model. The first is it just looks amazing. He's about the height of an ogre, and with his horns and cloven hooves, it is a fairly stereotypical devil model, but looks really classic to me, and I like him a lot. In addition to how he looks, there's a couple other reasons I wanted to take Rahl. The first is he can take 2 elites. He also has a fairly small number of minimum soldiers he has to take, so I can take a compact, fairly specialized force of elites and Rahl and just a small handful of soldiers with him. He also has some very good special abilities. The tough ability gives him a chance to not be killed whenever he takes his last wound. The way tough works is you roll a d10, add the tough number to it. For him it's 2. If you score a 10 or better, he's not dead, he's just on his last damage track or last wound. The vicious ability means that anytime he damages a model, that model has to pass a discipline check or become shaken. You'll remember that if you're fighting against a shaken model, the attacker gets bonuses in combat, and the Bloodlust ability gives him a +1 to melee attacks whenever he's fighting damaged models. Now, it doesn't apply to constructs or undead, but for pretty much everybody else, once he damages them, he gets a bonus. When he damages them, he has a chance to make them shaken. If they become shaken, he has an even greater chance to hurt them, so it's sort of like a revolving or snowballing effect that he has to just hit people, hurt them, and then keep hurting them more. Rahl comes in at just under $9.85 points, but I'm going to go ahead and bump him up to an even 100 points right now by buying him a magic weapon. Now, any non-soldier model can be given some extra equipment. A magic weapon costs 15 points and gives the model a +1 melee attack value, so that's going to bump his MAV up to 7, and hopefully it'll make it easier for him to damage and then damage more and then finally finish off whoever he's in hand-to-hand with. Okay, and now we need some guys to go along with Rahl, and I'm going to fill the elite slots first with a large demon model, actually 2 large demon models. This is Mastema, they're demons, and I'm just going to take 2 of the same model here. Now, up in the rank area of the data card, if it had said Elite Unique, I could not take 2 of them. I could only take 1 of them, but it doesn't, so more for me. These models have some cool special abilities also. Regeneration gives them a chance to, as you guess, regenerate some wounds that have been taken. What you do with regeneration is, at the beginning of each of the model's activations, they roll a d10, add the regeneration number to it. If the total is 10 or better, then they get to remove 1 point of damage that they've already taken. So it's unlikely, unless they've already taken only 1 point, that they're going to remove all the damage they've taken in one fell swoop, but they can incrementally start building back their wounds and keep fighting on. And then for offensive special abilities, it has several that are just really cool. First, it has the possibility of disabling enemy models. If it hits an enemy, then that enemy becomes disabled until the end of its next activation. What disabled does is it reduces the number of ranged or melee attacks by 1 for the model that's disabled. The frenzy ability gives the model the opportunity to take up to double the number of regular melee attacks, but it is going to suffer for extra ones that it takes. And then the savage ability means that if it hits an enemy model with 2 or more attacks in a given fight activation, an additional point of damage is done. So with their already impressive number of melee attacks, a decent melee attack value, a good defensive value that starts at 11, I really expect these guys to shine on the battlefield. They cost about $12 each, and like I said, I'm going to take 2 of them. And then to finish off Rahl's troop, I need to get those 4 soldiers into it, and I'm going to take 4 lesser devils. Now with these guys, you can buy them individually for about $5 each, or you can buy a pack of 8 for about $40. Since I only need 4, I'm only going to buy 4, so I'm going to buy them individually. And I am sort of looking at these guys as filler for his troop, but if they pay off and cause some wounds here and there, that's fine. If they don't, maybe they're able to soak up some wounds that would go to Rahl or the other larger demons that are in this troop during the course of a game. So they're here, they're 21 points apiece, cost about $5 each, and they'll round out the army. Okay, then as a quick summary of the army that we just put together, Troop A is Zeldorian's troop, contains 13 models, costs about $83 and 402 points. Troop B is Rahl's troop, 7 models there, about $53 and 358 points. Troop C is Maladorn the Fire Demon. He's going to be off on his own, about $28 there, 157 points. And Troop D is Merilith, another solo model, about $11.50 there and 83 points. We come to an even 1,000 points for the army and just under $175 spent. Now, I'll be able to get a lot of double duty out of these miniatures in my D&D games. Can probably also use some of them in Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, and pretty soon I need to get them all put together, painted, and then we'll move on to assembling the dwarf army. Since we have some time left in this episode, we'll look at reviews of some recently released Dark Heaven Legends miniatures. And we'll start off with an Ice Toad. This is a single piece model, needed very little in the way of cleaning, just under the base, had some little bits of metal that needed to be cleaned. Could not find a mold line on the model anywhere. When you compare this model to a regular human-sized model, he's actually a little bit larger in bulk, so it could be used as a good wilderness encounter model or something like that. The next blister is a Dragon Man conversion kit, and you get a lot of parts in this blister. You get 2 different heads, 3 different tails, and 3 different sets of wings. And what you can use this for is if you want to take an existing model, convert it into more of a Dragon Man or Dragonborn kind of model, you can use the parts in here to do that. But you could also use it for some other conversions, and I think I'm going to use it to make unique conversions to sorcerers in my son's Warriors of Chaos army, and maybe some conversions on some heroes also. Next up is an actual half-dragon or Dragonborn model called Golanth, and in this blister you get a lot of different options. You start off with the base body of the model, that is the legs, the torso, and the arms. There is a head that you can glue into place. You can also use the head with a little bit of green stuff putty from the previous blister we looked at if you want to swap it out. And then for each arm you have a couple of different choices. For the left arm you can have a sword or a shield, and for the right arm you can have a sword or a mace. So you can have him armed with 2 swords, a mace and a shield, or a sword and a shield, or if you wanted to do further conversions you can go even beyond that, but you have several options in the kit itself. All the parts on this figure needed a little bit of cleaning, so you're going to spend a couple minutes doing that before you decide how you want to put it together. But once you figure out how you want to put him together, assembly is going to be pretty easy. In addition to his head, which obviously sets him apart as a half-dragon or dragonborn, his feet are also done in what look like dragon claws, so that's pretty indicative of his lineage. And some of the plates on his armor also look like large dragon scales. So for a player character model where you have a little bit of choice in how you want to arm him, this would be a good model to look at. And the last model we'll take a look at for this time is a Goblin Shaman, and he's for the Revan faction in Warlord. Comes in 2 pieces. His hand is a separate piece that's cast as part of the base, so you'll need to clip that off and glue it into place. His staff was bent a little bit in the package, but I was able to straighten it out easily. It's a thick piece right there, so I really didn't have much of a chance of breaking it. If yours doesn't come bent, then you don't have to worry about it at all. Cleanup on the model consisted of a couple extra bits of metal from the casting process, and also a visible mold line across the top of his hat and on his cloak in a couple places. There are some nice added details to the model. First of all, on the top of his staff, it looks more like a shrunken head than actually a skull up there, because you can see the stitching on the lips and the eyes and on the back of the head. And also on his back, and it's either tied to a ponytail or a piece of string or something, there's a little chicken foot back there, and he also has a rodent skull on the front of his cloak. So some nice added details there. If you're not a Revan player, but if by chance you play an Orc and Goblin army in Warhammer Fantasy Battle, he'd make an excellent Goblin Wizard, and he'll easily fit on a 20mm square base. Okay everybody, thanks for watching this episode of Reaper Minis TV, and I'll see you next time.